Late last night, Politico dropped an article claiming they had a draft on the decision of Roe v. Wade. This is the first time reading the article, and I am going to take it apart in real time, which includes lots of stuttering and lots of verbal errors. But we are going to do it in real time, and you're going to get my opinions, and it's not as bad as you think. I'm guessing. So there's some huge news from Politico tonight. It turns out the Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights, draft opinion shows. This is huge breaking news, and every single article on YouTube tomorrow is going to be talking about it. However, I think I have a different opinion than everyone else. And we're going to go through this article a couple lines at a time, and we're going to get my stupid opinion. So, they have the obligatory people protesting everything. I see let their hearts beat means keep babies alive, bans off our bodies, kill babies. So there's everyone here. So that's a good representation of that. I don't understand why that picture was needed. So this comes out at 8:32 p.m. on the 2nd of May. But you're going to see this on the 3rd of May because it's a tick after midnight and I'm working late. The Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. Okay. We got to look at this word by word because journalists sometimes play sneaky games and they say things that may jolt your emotions and make you feel a certain way, but it's not exactly what the article says. So we're going to take this carefully, and like I said, I'm going to use my dumb opinion and kind of dig into this and see what it means to me. So the Supreme Court has voted to strike down the Roe v. Wade decision. No, it hasn't. An initial draft majority opinion has been leaked. No one has voted. In fact, I'm not quite certain they've even heard arguments yet. I mean, I'm fairly sure that all of the justices have already made up their minds, made an opinion about the case, but they haven't released an official verdict. So before everyone freaks out, just calm down. Literally, at this point, nothing has changed. So the draft opinion, this is literally, it might be a first draft. So there's going to be edits that come, there's going to be notations, there's going to be people that change their mind. So the draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision which guaranteed federal constitutional protections of abortion rights and a subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, that largely maintained the right. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Alito writes. Now, before you freak out, all you people out there that demand the right to kill your unborn baby, nothing has been officiated yet. Okay? These are first drafts of opinions. So everyone calm down. Let's go through this line by line and let's see what they're really saying. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he writes in the document, labeled as, quote, opinion of the court, end quote. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. Okay, this is actually pretty predictable. It goes back to, I think, the 10th Amendment, which everything that's not in the Constitution guaranteed to the federal government goes back to the states. So every state can make their own rules. This is a good thing for both sides. Okay. Now, if you live in California, they are passing laws where abortion is legal up to, and I think including the time of birth. So if you're the average gestational period for a human is 9 months. If you're 8 months and 30 days and you're like, I really don't want this baby anymore, in California, they will allow you to kill it. They tried this in Virginia. There's several other states where this is allowable, and there's several other states that are trying to pass these laws right now where it's legal to have an abortion at the very, very, very last moment. I mean, to not try to be ridiculous about this, but you could be crowning and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll kill it for you. I don't want to make this video about the argument of whether or not abortion is a good idea. I certainly have my opinions, but there are some people that have wildly different opinions, and they really, really want to cling to the idea that it is okay to kill an unborn baby almost at any time. And that's, you'll have to go to the states that support that, and you'll be able to do it. There are other states where I think Texas and Alabama are leading the charge to say that abortion is almost illegal at any stage. If memory serves, the law in Texas gives you such a very narrow window that once you miss your first period, you have really just a matter of days to determine you're pregnant and then get an abortion, schedule with a doctor who was willing to do the operation, and then do it. And then there are other places where you can get an abortion, like I said, last minute. It's you'll have to sort out and seek which state you want to live in that will have the kind of abortion laws that you want. So it's not ever, I don't think it's ever going to be illegal to get an abortion. You're just going to have to travel, or you're going to have to live in a place that wants to make rules that follow your social moral alignment. And then there are other places that are going to protect children basically at any age. There are people that are going to say that conception is the start of life, and from that point on you can't kill them. So deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been fluid. Justices can and sometimes do change their votes as draft opinions circulate, and major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before a decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. So, back to my earlier state that everyone should calm down. We may be a full 60 days before they release a final verdict. Now I want to back up just a little bit and talk about how Politico obtained this draft. Let me back up a second. Let's go back. Let's go through this, and we'll catch it in the next paragraph. The immediate impact of the ruling, as drafted in February, would be to end a half-century guarantee of federal constitutional protection of abortion rights and allow each state to decide whether to restrict or ban abortion. Once again, back to the state's rights. The state can choose. You pick which state you want to live in, because we still have plenty of freedom of movement. You want to go to the place that supports your beliefs. That's fine. No one's taking anything away from you. You might just have to go find your own people. It's unclear if there have been subsequent changes to the draft. No draft decision in the modern history of the court has been disclosed publicly while a case was still pending. The unprecedented revelation is bound to intensify the debate over what was already the most controversial case on the docket this term. Okay, this is the paragraph I want to dig into. No draft decision in the modern history of the court has been disclosed publicly. Now, I did a little rudimentary search. I am not an outstanding researcher, but you can look on a couple of different search engines and you can read some blogs, and a draft decision has never, to the best of my knowledge, been published before the decision. Here's where I'm going to get a little speculative and a little bit weird. I am going to speculate that one of the clerks for one of the Supreme Court justices intentionally leaked this draft. And what that does is it solves a couple of purposes. It gives all of the people that are angry about this decision some time to prepare. And by prepare, I mean they're probably going to riot. Now, the people that are going to be angry about this decision are usually, nope, scratch that. The people that are going to be angry about this decision are leftists. They're Democrats, but more importantly, they're leftists. And when they don't get their way, they break things. I refer back to all the Black Lives Matter riots from a couple of years ago. These people will smash windows, they'll burn cars, they'll kick over trash cans, they'll disrupt traffic, they'll do just about everything they can. I would not be surprised at all if mysterious pallets of bricks start showing up along the side of roadways like they did with the George Floyd riots several years ago. These people are going to break stuff. Now they've been given basically 2 months warning that this decision is coming, so they have time to raise funds, to create a network, to get people in place, to get people all amped up through Twitter and whatever other social media that the Antifa and stuff like that uses. And what's going to happen is Washington, D.C. is probably going to be a very contentious area for the next couple of weeks. There's going to be marches, there's going to be riots, there's going to be fires. People are going to get killed through, if a person waves a flag that goes against this narrative, there are going to be stabbings in public. There's going to be people getting milkshaked, and that's not throwing a creamy, delicious drink on someone. It's people are going to mix concrete in milkshakes and hit you in the head, and you get a concussion and you die. That's what milkshaking is. It's a very, very violent, deadly attack. So they have 2 months. And if things get bad enough, which I am predicting that it will, the Supreme Court, the four or five, there's 4 people that have already signed up to Alito's draft. But the 5 justices, Roberts, the Chief Justice, will probably go along with them. But they have enough to overturn Roe v. Wade. The justices that have already signed on to this preliminary draft may change their opinion based on the unbelievable violence. And this is the characteristic of a very weak justice. I have an opinion. I believe something. It matches the Constitution and it matches my convictions. But a bunch of people got really, really mad. So I'm going to cave to the mob. Well, there's kind of a term for that. It's called democracy. Democracy, you've obviously heard the term before, when 2 wolves and a sheep vote on what's for dinner. Democracy is mob rule. We don't have a democracy. You may be very, very upset with your elementary school teachers that have lied to you, but we have a constitutional republic. We do not have a democracy. And this is why. Because when you get a couple of really, really, really angry people that shout and break stuff, and they don't get to control the country. We have a constitutional republic. We vote on things based on states and districts and counties and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole big thing for it. And that's why the Electoral College exists. That's why we have senators and congressmen. And if they pressure these justices into changing their minds, I gotta tell you, this country's done. We don't have a rule of law anymore. We don't have a system of laws and rules. We don't have a republic. We don't even have a constitution anymore. If a relatively small crowd who was loud and angry and violent gets to control the government, it will be continued to be controlled by the people that are the loudest and the most violent. And you won't like it. Let's go back to the article. The draft opinion offers an extraordinary window into the justices' deliberations in one of the most consequential cases before the court in the last 5 decades. Some court watchers predicted that the conservative majority would slice away at the abortion rights without flatly overturning the 49-year-old precedent. The draft shows that the court is looking to reject Roe's logic and legal protections. Now here's a snippet from the actual draft, and it's pretty clear. Quote, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. And that's from Justice Samuel Alito, quoted an initial draft of majority opinion. Although these words are very, very harsh and extremely clear, this is an initial draft. I'm not sure if you guys have ever done a college paper or written a screenplay or anything like that. Your initial draft, it needs a lot of polishing. This may change significantly, or it might not. There's no way to tell. Anyone who can tell you, I know what's going to happen, they're lying or guessing or saying something ridiculous to try to get clicks. But no one knows. Even Alito doesn't know at this point. There's no way to tell. A person familiar with the court's deliberations. Okay. This is another media trick. A person familiar with it. No, name a person or don't. This might as well be anonymous source or a person near the court. You may have asked a homeless guy sleeping on the steps out front. Oh yeah, he's near the court. We'll ask him questions. This is dumb. This is political, journalistic nonsense. You should recognize it from the start and go, oh, this person is a nonsense source. You name a name or you don't. A person familiar with, shut up. I'm not buying this crap anymore, and you guys need to start paying attention to this. This is nonsense. A person familiar with the court's deliberations said that 4 of the other Republican-appointed justices, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, had voted with Alito in the conference held among the justices after hearing oral arguments in December, and that lineup remained unchanged as of this week. Take that for what it's worth. They haven't, to everyone's best knowledge, they haven't voted with Alito yet. There have been no official votes. They may have said, wink and a nod, yeah, we got you. But this person familiar who says they voted, I just don't buy it. I just don't. So the 3 Democratic appointed justices, Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan, are working on 1 or more dissents, according to the person. According to a person. It doesn't even say what they do. I mean, it might be a janitor who picked up something in the trash written in crayon. This is ridiculous to give any credence to this kind of a quote. They're working on 1 or more dissents, according to the person. How Chief Justice John Roberts will ultimately vote and whether he will join an already written opinion or draft his own is unclear. That's kind of a dumb paragraph. Now, they've already got Thomas, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Alito that are supposedly on the side to remove the Roe v. Wade. That's 5. I'm not sure if you're good at math or not, but that's the majority. They're done. If Roberts joins them or dissents by joining the others, it doesn't matter. This is just, but what if, who cares? The document, labeled as a first draft of the majority opinion, includes a notion that was circulated among the justices on February 10th. If the Alito draft is adopted, it would rule in favor of Mississippi in the closely watched case over the state's attempt to ban most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Okay. Again, first draft. This isn't going to be settled for weeks, if not months. It literally could be 2 months. And goes back to Mississippi. I think Mississippi does have the right to create their own abortion laws. It's a states' rights issue. And I think the Supreme Court is going to say it's a states' rights issue. Now, people in Mississippi that want to get abortions, they're either going to have to stop having random unprotected sex, which greatly reduces your chance of pregnancy, or they're going to have to drive to Florida or to Alabama or to Texas or Arkansas or somewhere else where they can get an abortion more easily. This is a big inconvenience. It really is. And I feel sorry for someone who puts themselves in a position where they are entertaining the thought they need an abortion. But it's not going to be removed entirely. It's just going to be a little harder to get. Or you could stop making irresponsible sexual decisions and act like an adult. I've been an adult for a very, very long time. And I have never once had a girlfriend say, I think I might be pregnant. An unplanned pregnancy. Never happened in my entire life. I have had a wife who told me with the joy in her eyes that she was pregnant, but we were married and planned a life. That's fine. Supreme Court spokesperson declined to comment or make another representative of the court available to answer questions about the draft document. Well, of course. So, the only person who is allowed to make a comment, the Supreme Court spokesperson, denied it for all intents and purposes. They declined to make a comment, which means that this either isn't real. There's still a possibility this is not real. There's a possibility that a leftist clerk just printed this up, put Alito's name to it, and dropped it over at Politico. There's zero proof this is actually real at this point. Just keep that in mind before it gets worked up. So Politico received a copy of the draft opinion from a person familiar with the court proceedings in the Mississippi case, along with other details supporting the authenticity of the document. Okay, random person familiar with court proceedings. You know, if you watch CNN, you're kind of familiar with the court proceedings. It doesn't mean anything. You use a little common sense here. This is a highly contentious case, and a person familiar with it dropped a document that may not be real. The Supreme Court spokesperson declined to comment. I mean, stop getting worked up over nothing. Some of these people are going to lose their minds over something that may or may not even be true. So let's take a minute and relax. The draft opinion runs 98 pages, including a 31-page appendix of historical state abortion laws. The document is replete with citations to previous court decisions, books, and other authorities, and includes 118 footnotes. The appearances and timing of this draft are consistent with court practice. Probably true. Consistent with court practice. Does that mean it's official? No, it still doesn't. It still doesn't mean it's official. It might be. I mean, it absolutely might be. But at this point, there's no reason to say, yep, guaranteed. This is definitely from Samuel Alito's desk, and this is what it's going to be. There just isn't there isn't that kind of evidence, the concrete evidence yet to say this is what it's going to be. Under long-standing court procedures, justices hold preliminary votes on cases shortly after argument and assign a member of the majority to write a draft of the court's opinion. The draft is often amended in consultation with other justices, and in some cases, the justices change their votes altogether, creating the possibility that the current alignment on Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization could change. Oh my God, look, it's what I've been saying the whole time. It's early. It's a draft. They could argue more and opinions could change. Why are you guys getting so worked up over this? Nothing is official until it's official. Just calm down. The Chief Justice typically assigns majority opinions when he is in the majority. When he is not, that decision is typically made by the most senior justice in the majority. Okay, so that would be Alito. So that's fine. That part makes sense, but that part is also not surprising. Blah, blah, blah. This is going to go on for a while. What this basically says is Politico has dropped an article that is turning the internet on fire right now. It's a first draft. The real ruling won't come for 6 weeks, but there's a leaked article. Okay. You'll see on Twitter that they have surrounded the Supreme Court building with fencing and barriers. They did this in the middle of the night because this article broke at 8 o'clock on a Monday night, and there were already pictures of barriers up. This, to me, being a skeptical person who just loves conspiracy theories, I've been to DC before. I grew up near DC. I've seen lots of things. I've been watching the news for decades. For them to put up barriers in the middle of the night means this was planned. Even if it was planned by a couple of hours, doesn't matter. There's some planning here. So they've got all these barriers up because they know there's going to be riots tomorrow. I would not be surprised if some of these protesters show up with just lots of fancy, well-printed signs and pins or flags or something that kind of brings everyone together under a common theme. And it's going to happen probably tomorrow, definitely on the weekend. So if you live in DC, I would stay clear of the Supreme Court building because it is going to get ugly and people are going to get hurt because these people are violent. So let's just sit back. All the people that are filled with common sense and an IQ above room temperature, let's let this play out for a little while longer before we make a decision and rush into some opinion that you feel like you can't change, because when you watch the news and you get your opinion and you lock in, it's really hard to change. Like, for example, there's two big examples that hit recently. Kyle Rittenhouse. Everyone, at the minute this happened, oh my God, he killed all these black people. And then the evidence came out in the court trial, and it was really, really different. And he wasn't convicted of anything because that's what the evidence showed. So don't get locked into these kind of CNN moments where they tell you what to think, and then the actual story comes out later and you're like, oh, I feel silly. I believed him again. CNN tricked me again. So let's take a minute, relax, think about it, let it sit in for a couple of days, wait for some more news opinions to come out, gather some evidence, then make your opinion. I think it's going to be all right. I think a lot of people are going to be angry, but I think it's going to be all right. So in conclusion, everybody chill out. Nothing's happened yet. And when people jump to conclusions, you end up on libs of TikTok because your tweets are held against you for being dumb and making opinions without having all the information. Just relax. Give it 24 hours. Let's let this unfold for a little bit. Then we'll talk about it reasonably. You know, like the adults do.